Hello, people of the internet. It's been a while since I made a video, mostly because I've been transitioning, I haven't made a video in 3 months, and that was because I was in college. It was my freshman year, so I had to get a few things done before I could get some personal time, and of course now the summer, so I'm home. If you haven't noticed, this is my room. It is incredibly small. Trust me, if I had access to a studio, I'd use it. Anyway, this is my introduction video as a sort of new thing I'm doing because I'm changing things up. The devilishly handsome host says as he takes a drink out of his Hogwarts... What would you call this? A stein? I think this counts as a stein. Anyway... what I'm going to be doing at this point is a sort of introduction as a way to kind of get into what I intend to do from now on when it comes to my videos. I'm going to actually put in a little bit more effort than I did up until this point, because up until this point, I've really just kind of filmed whatever the hell came to mind, and so I've decided to, not completely stop that, but at least put a little more thought and effort into the videos. Unfortunately, due to my somewhat erratic schedule and the simple fact that, I just don't have the time, there will be no regular video put out on my channel, but I'll try to get them as soon as possible. Now, as for this video, being an intro for what I intend to do in the future, which is just, again, still whatever idea pops in my head, but again, a little bit more professionally done. In this case, I've decided to essentially show you my brain. Not literally, because that would be expensive, complicated, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you would probably be disgusted. What I mean by that is, I've been working on a sort of art project of mine called a brain collage. Or at least that's what I call it. I call it my brain collage because it is essentially pictures I've taken from the internet of things that interest me, or a few personal pictures as well, or just things that have meaning to me, and I've put them all together, using basic materials, tape and stuff, and just have, excuse me, belch, put it together in such a way that it is just a, well, all intents and purposes, a random set of pictures set up in a collage, but in reality it represents different facets of my personality. Now, what I'm going to be doing from now on is simple, rather, is that with this brain collage, what I'm doing in this video is that I'm going to show you the brain collage, and I'm going to show you every individual picture I've chosen to put into it up to this point. And I'm going to explain what they mean to me personally. Then, in every future video, or pretty much every future video I intend to make, I'm going to add more pictures, a couple more pictures before every video, to the collage, and I'll explain what those pictures mean in that video, and so on and so forth, until I stop doing this, which maybe when I actually get an actual career going. No offense to any of you that you're not as important, it's just that I probably will have even less time than I do now. And also the fact that either that, I might even continue even then, but, and I might just continue up until my own death. So, let's get rolling, shall we, with the whole brain collage.
Into my brain we go. Boom!
Alright, here's the first picture I'm going to show you all in the collage. This, you may recognize, along with the one right directly below it, are my personal logos, which I generally put, for those of you who have seen my videos before, know were put
at the beginning of almost all my most of my other videos on YouTube, have these logos. The first one up top here is my original concept for it, a hand-drawn version. This is actually just a printout version because the original was actually drawn on a piece of loose leaf paper. This resulted in when I printed it, some fading, which is why when you look at it, you can see that it has, that there are certain differences if you were to compare it to the original, which I'm sure I have somewhere, but I can't remember where I put it. Now, for instance, I've outlined in black ink the little bubbles leading up to the bigger bubble, along with the tent itself in the largest bubble, along with darkening the green lettering for Imagination Circus, which of course is the name of my, my future production company, or at least that's what I intend. Of course, Imagination Circus. Anyway, that being the case, I used a somewhat darker shade of green because the lighter version I originally used could not be found immediately, evidently, since I drew it, if you can't tell, in crayon, which, I take no shame with, I could have done anything. I could have done colored pencil, but I decided in crayon, and it worked out fine enough. And this is the one at the bottom here is the more professionally done version that, I eventually had made. This one, of course, being a compilation of different animated drawings from created on a computer, and thus put together in this production with this very professional lighting here at the bottom. So, that being the case, you've seen this. These are my personal logos, and I intend to use them well into the future. Moving on. Okay, here we have the next set, you could say, of pictures, since it's more than one. Now, make note that the first three are of villains, and the fourth one here is of a jack-o'-lantern. Well, I don't know if you can really call it a jack-o'-lantern, but let's just call it pumpkin art, if you will. Now, originally these pictures, these are the reason I'm showing you these are because they are the original pictures I printed out, the very first ones, at least in this set, not the very first pictures I ever printed out. And the reason that is because they were the ones here that I originally stamped to my door, not the jack-o'-lantern one. That was for a different reason. I'll get to that in a second. But these other three were something I strapped to my door. For whatever reason, I'm a little obsessed with villains, so what we have here is, these three, and this was the very first one I printed out, which, again, as I'm obsessed with villains, it says, probably the only villain who was loved more than the hero. Now, of course, this is a picture of Heath Ledger Joker, probably the best Joker, he is really pretty much my favorite, even more so than the Mark Hamill voiced one, and I really, really love Mark Hamill, so, Now, of course, right under that, we have Darth Vader saying, "I find your lack of knowledge disturbing." That's a play on one of his quotes, and it's very clever as far as I'm concerned. And, of course, once more, we get finally to the bottom, we have a picture of Loki. If you can't tell, this picture is actually of him from Thor: The Dark World, which is interesting if you ask me. It's right after he got slapped by Natalie Portman, where she says, "This is for New York." Brilliant, but otherwise it says, "Ever heard of fangirls?" I'm not going to try a Loki accent. I really want to, but I don't think I can pull it off. Anyway, this is, of course, very, very clever, and we all know how many fangirls Loki has, but, the point being that in this particular instance, my obsession with villains, and, of course, we have another one here, this one, again, it says, "Every villain is a hero in his own mind." Now, make note, I only recognize certain people in this. Now, for instance, I don't remember the very first one, which is a woman villain, but I don't know. Then, of course, we have Darth Vader. I don't know that guy. That's Bellatrix Lestrange. I believe I'm saying her name right. I'm not entirely sure. It is quite a hard name to pronounce. After that, we have a young Magneto, the evil queen from Once Upon a Time. Very, very good villain up until she kind of, I guess you could say, have a change of heart. And then we have, of course, Loki, and Heath Ledger, Joker again. And, of course, another guy I don't recognize. I probably should recognize some of the other ones, but they are the lesser ones, I think, in this instance. If you want to tell me who they are, that's fine. I really wouldn't mind knowing, but I have no way of researching that, out of context. There's nothing I can take away from those pictures that would tell me. Anyway, I also added the her there because it only refers to villains as, his mind, so I've added the her before, and the or to hero in his own mind to in her or his own mind, just because, equality and all that, and I felt it was more correct, because if it had just been males, I probably wouldn't have cared as much, but there are three females in this, so I care about that. And finally, down here, we just have no words, but we have a compilation of what looks like a hand-drawn picture of a bunch of people, villains, We have, of course, we have Ghostface, and again, Heath Ledger Joker. He's in all over the place. And another one that's all over the place is, of course, Darth Vader. We have Freddy Krueger, and, the original Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein's monster, the Bride of Frankenstein, the Mummy, Jigsaw, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and, of course, Willem Dafoe Green Goblin. Love him. I don't care whether people say. I love the Green Goblin, He is my favorite comic book villain. But that aside, finally, we get to Chucky and a couple other characters. I'm not exactly sure, though I think one of those is Leatherface. But otherwise, great compilation of villains right there. Finally, we get to the Jack-o'-lantern. Call it pumpkin art. This one has an interesting story behind it. You see, my family, every year, we have a pumpkin carving contest. That being the case, it's a competition, so we crown the winner. Annoyingly, the last 4 years, we've had the same, one of my cousins win. It's annoying. Anyway, I had planned to carve this because, it's not original, but it doesn't really matter. It's a good idea, and if I could actually pull it off, it would be awesome. Only problem was, I failed this year. I'm going to try it again. Well, I guess you could say last year. I'm going to try it again this year, and I'm going to get it. Anyway, let's move on to the next picture show. Okay, here we have a picture of Superman versus Monkey D. Luffy. If you don't know who Monkey D. Luffy is, he's a character from the manga and anime One Piece, although I suspect quite a few of you do know, but whatever. He's pretty popular but he's far more popular in his home country of Japan. Now, I've always been a fan of One Piece. It's my personal favorite manga and anime. And I do follow both quite thoroughly, so the idea, now, I'm much more into this fight than I am of Superman versus Goku, but we'll get to that in a second, because I got something else to show you. Now, I personally don't know which one of these two would win. I'd like to think Luffy, but I honestly don't know. He might not be strong enough, but if he's not strong enough yet, I think he'll become strong enough in the future. Now, we move on, we show another picture with Luffy. There's going to be a lot of Luffy in here, you notice. I mean, there's going to be a few things anime-related, but Luffy is going to be pretty much in all of them, even if there are others involved. Now, here we have the Hulk screaming at Luffy, or at least it looks like he's screaming or something. And Luffy looks pretty dangerous himself there, not even flinching. And in the background, you see what looks kind of like Marine Ford, but not quite, in a wreckage of sorts. If you don't know what Marine Ford is, then look it up. And this is, of course, where another fight will probably break out. Personally, I'd like to think that Luffy would be able to beat the Hulk. I don't know if he could beat Superman, but I think he could beat the Hulk. Why, you ask? Because unlike other people, Luffy is made of rubber, and this means he probably can't... I mean, he might be able to... The Hulk might be able to stretch him enough to tear him apart, but I think that would... I think that might take a while, and I don't know if he could actually do it. But moving on, we have this, which is a printout of something that a college sent me to try and get me to, become a student. Didn't go to that particular college, but I kept it because, why not? I mean, it looks fantastic. Anyway, we have another anime-related thing here. We have a cool-looking black and white picture of Luffy. You can kind of see a character called Law in the background. He's another cool character from the series. Then we have Suna, that is Sawada Tsunayoshi. He is a character from the series Katekyo Hitman Reborn, which means it's a series about him becoming a mafia boss. It's really not one of the lesser-known series, but it's really good. And he's meant to become a mafia boss, and he's trained by his home tutor, who's also a hitman. That's what Katekyo Reborn, Hitman Reborn. Katekyo means home tutor anyway. And at the end of this trio, we have one Natsu Dragneel of Fairy Tail, another awesome anime and manga character. I only read the anime and only really read the manga about One Piece. The others I just watch the anime. But they're both awesome. All three of them are awesome, and that's why I have their pictures here. They're just so cool. Now, directly below this, we have what is... Let me focus. Here, we have a picture of the Avengers on top of a picture of some of Shonen's main antagonists, including the ones I just showed you, but a couple others. We once again have Luffy and Goku and Suna there, but we also have Ishiko from Bleach, Naruto from Naruto, and of course, Goku from, the Dragon Ball series. Now, it says clearly that this is a versus match. It says, I don't know if you can read it. I'm wearing my glasses right now because I can barely read it from this distance. Marvel's Avengers versus Shonen Jump Alliance. Again, there's a J there that stands for jump. And at the bottom it says, Goku will be more than enough. Bring the whole X-Men if you want. I personally find that hilarious just because it's so true. Goku alone could handle probably the entire Avengers, and this is just the movie version of the Avengers, not the comic book version. So, with this entire lineup, you really would need the X-Men. After that, we move on to another picture. This is a picture of me personally. It's from a couple months ago when I went to see Wicked in theater, and you know what? It was awesome. So awesome, in fact, I couldn't not take this picture, and I just loved it. And I kind of developed a bit of a crush on the main character, which is, of course, the Wicked Witch of the West. It's also given a name here, Alphaba. Honestly, great thing. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you do. It's fantastic. Anyway, moving on, we have another picture anime-related. I'm going to show you this before I get to some of the surrounding ones. And it's of Luffy and Nami. Nami is another character from One Piece, and we have their logo, their personal Jolly Rogers, which is, of course, the main logo for One Piece is the Straw Hat Jolly Roger, which is also Luffy's personal Jolly Roger, and Nami's Jolly Roger here that she's sitting on wearing a crown. Now, this is, of course, a fan drawing based around the idea, and, of course, there's the author of One Piece right there, the creator, the great Eiichiro Oda. He's great. He's really great. But the point here is that this is my favorite. This is my OTP for One Piece. I ship them. I can't help it. There isn't really any real couples in the series, which makes it easier to ship people, but this is my favorite right here. Anyway, moving down, we have this picture of two guys. I don't even know what these kanji stand for. Is it kanji? I'm pretty sure it's kanji, but I don't know what this kanji stands for, but it's two guys just duking it out, like going full on like kendo, and it's awesome because I like swords. I love swords. and that's just one of my favorite things. And so I can't, I just can't help it. And I want to personally learn how to use a sword. I do own a sword, and I'm making one out of wood. So I might show you that in another video, but I just love swords, And moving on, we have another picture of, again, it's Luffy and Suna, but in the middle here, we have Naruto with them, and you know what? All three look boss in them suits. You know what I mean? It's just awesome. And of course, we have pretty much the eyes, the scary-looking eyes of all the main shonen, heroes like before, except this time it includes the eyes of one Edward Elric. Now, I've yet to see Full Metal Alchemist. It's on my bucket list, my anime bucket list. And of course, right above this, we have full pictures of Naruto and Edward Elric. Again, two awesome characters. Finally, we have a picture for a mock death battle. Again, fans do this all the time. This is one I'd love to see, but unfortunately these two don't have anything in common, so that fight probably won't happen. At least nothing that I'm aware of, but they are two of my favorite characters. Both my favorite anime character and my favorite comic book superhero, SpiderMan versus Monkey D. Luffy. Love to see that. Finally, we have here at the bottom, I only labeled the ones I recognized, is all of the Shonen heroes. Sorry about the lighting, my lights are not that bright, so and it's only pictures of, but we have the different Shonen heroes, all going Super Saiyan, and of course, here in the center we have Goku, but right next to him is Natsu, and of course Naruto. Naruto being the only one who looks normal because his hair is always blonde anyway. And right next to him is Ichigo, and then right next to them at the end here is Suna. You can barely see him. He's like right there. Yeah, there they are. I'm gonna just gonna zoom in. And then after them, again, there is Natsu. That's Luffy right next to him. You have to really pay attention, but if you look at the back of the picture, you can see that his straw hat is around his neck on that string there, and then of course, he's got his trademark cheek scar. Now these last two, I don't know who they are, but I kept them anyway just because, out of respect, So, anyway, going up, we have second to last picture. Actually, not quite, but you know what? Anyway, now we have a picture of Luffy and Naruto switching clothes, and there's a speech bubble where Naruto says, "Give me back my clothes, you bastard." Makes sense. But here, I put a little caption of my own on top here that says, in reality, Luffy would probably, fuck Naruto up. That's what the F stands for wearing his hat. Now, anybody who knows the series will not deny this, but although I suppose he might let Luffy wear his hat. I mean, Luffy might let him wear his hat, but I doubt it. Anyway, moving on, before we get to the very last, there is one I almost forgot. This here is actually just something I took of some wall graffiti, because at the college I went to, because, I've been to college for the last couple months, of course, like so many others. This picture shows a piece of graffiti from the wall in the theater, because my school has a theater, and I outlined it with Sharpie because the picture wasn't too good, but this is a picture I took of a certain type of graffiti. I don't know what it means, if it has any real meaning, but I liked it, so I decided to take a picture, and I decided to put it in here. Now, the very last one is probably one of my favorites. Here we have, and I'm sure you can recognize them, here we have Batman versus L from Death Note. Again, another series I really need to, it's on my list, my anime bucket list, so I really need to watch it. But and they're both geniuses, so this is like a brilliant, an idea for them in a chess match. I love it. But, and then, they're commenting on something as they're playing chess against each other, and I'd love to see who would win that. But, you think those idiots are done beating each other senseless? Batman says, and then, of course, L says nope, and then we go down, and we can clearly see two characters beating each other up with classic, caption things from cartoony, like, comic book captions saying exactly what kind of things are happening. Like, crutch, that sounds like, no, that says crunch and wham and pow. And we can clearly see it's a bunch of smoke, and there we can see one person's hand with a blue wristband, another person's hand with a blue sleeve. Clearly it's Superman and Goku. Brilliant, by the way, really. I love this. I personally, I mean, again, and it's kind of ironic because Death Battle already did a Superman versus Goku video. But they're doing another one because, you know, so many fans requested it, and so they're doing another one with those two fighting. And it's ironic because I'm also making a video and I'm showing you this. But I would much rather see Batman versus L in a chess match than, you know, these two duking it out again. So, you know, tell me what you think, and I hope you...
I would just like to get to an apology just saying that this is a little long for an intro video, although or any video, really a good video, but I wanted to get this done before I get to the more serious stuff. They'll be shorter in the future. But in this case, I just like to say that, or maybe they won't, but I just like to say that I'd like to apologize for the length of this video, unless, of course, I'm managed to shorten it, which means I edited it down well enough. I don't know if that'll actually be the case, but I decided to, I'll leave this in here anyway, just so you know that I at least tried to make it shorter, if that is in fact the case. Now, I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you'll leave some comments telling me what you thought of it, and some of the pictures that represent my brain, which will slowly grow over time, until there probably won't be enough room on that wall for, you know, my brain to be shown. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and, bye. 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 I would just like to apologize again for the length of this video, as I obviously could not shorten it as much as I wanted, but I hope you all enjoyed it anyway, and once again, please comment.